So just now you saw plug-and-charge in action. So when you essentially plug in the car directly from the charger, in this case Ionity, and usually, at least right now in September of 2025, it's going to be most likely Ionity. You plug it in, it immediately starts charging, authorizes for yourself. It takes a bit of time, you saw it's about 30 seconds, but it is much more convenient than using any apps or any kind of payment terminal. That said, of course, I am in favor of payment terminals and chargers, but you saw it in action, it actually works quite well. Now, for Hyundais, how do you get it set up? You have to use ChargeMyHyundai app. So ChargeMyHyundai app is what you may have guessed. It is an app where it collects various charge network chargers. And this is something to underline. None of these chargers you see in this map, no matter how much I zoom in, zoom out, none of them are Hyundai owned purely. Maybe there exists a charger that's owned by Hyundai and maintained by Hyundai purely. I do not know about it, but most likely all of these are owned by various third parties. As such, this is another integration layer. That meaning that somebody is getting paid to maintain it. Somebody needs to ensure it gets maintained, and it does work, and so on. So essentially, what I'm saying, it is more expensive to use ChargeMyHyundai app, even if you're just going to use it for plug and charge. Overall, it's always going to be more expensive than directly using the network itself and missing that feature. As an example, here we see Lidl. So this is Lidl in Split, and it shows here it's 49 cents per kilowatt hour, which is above average what we typically consider appropriate charge price for highways. So okay, we can discuss about it, but generally that's true. So 49 is on border where you would say, no, I will rather look for competitors and find another charger, which likely will be cheaper. Of course, that depends on the market. So for those who are watching from UK, you might not actually have that much choice, and those from Poland as well. So, but as somebody who's living both in Croatia as well as in Latvia, I typically have choice. So the difference here is this is Lidl's charger, which is operated by, at least from the software side and the sort of the integration side, it's by ChargePoint. And on ChargePoint app directly, it's 40 cents per kilowatt hour. So you're paying 9 cents extra per kilowatt hour to charge from this app. And not to mention the session fee, which you also see below here. And that is 59 cents. Of course, it's not a lot of big session fee, but most charge networks won't have session fee on its own. They will perhaps hold funds from your account, so and will take only the difference, which is inconvenient. However, they won't have session fee. But my problem is not the session fee. My problem is mainly that extra price you're gonna pay. So that said, it does give you convenience. It's like those who have been using some other central charging applications, which immediately don't come to my mind because there's so many of them, to be fair, and also none of them make it cheaper to use any of the charge networks, just more convenient. But I know that some of the Volkswagen owners are using the Volkswagen included charge application and charge card to charge across Europe, and that I imagine is because of the convenience a single app like that gives you. So I could travel effectively back to Latvia and back and forth just using ChargeMyHyundai. Regardless of price, I could just not pay attention to the price and just use that. And that's what I, in a way, did. I didn't do it for normal chargers. I only did it for plug and charge capable ones. So Ionity. Effectively, if I go to account and look at charging sessions, whenever I encountered Ionity, I just used the plug and charge feature. Every single time it worked, which I did not expect, because Ionity, despite it being one of the best charge networks out there, it also has its own glitches. But it worked. The plug and charge worked every single time. So, and these are just six sessions across the trip, because I also used other chargers. But yeah, it kind of told me that it works well enough where most of the time, if not all the time, it works. So plug and charge is added benefit of using app like this. And I imagine for other manufacturers, other car manufacturers, they have something similar in their app. Once it's made available, you can also set it up. So how much extra for the Ionity? So Ionity prices do depend on the country and on the subscription tier. And that applies to this app too. But on average, it is more expensive in this app than it is on Ionity natively. So if I enable plug and charge in the filter, we zoom out, we find that there's very few chargers supporting that. Most of them are Ionity, but some of them are not. I did not encounter a charger that would not be Ionity. However, they do exist. So just so you know, you're not limited to Ionity. So you can see that in Ionity in Poland, it's 250 per kilowatt hours in zloty. If we go to another Ionity charger in Latvia, those who are in Latvia, so in Balska, you can see it's 49 cents per kilowatt hour. And then in Lithuania has been very competitive in charging prices across their networks. 34 cents per kilowatt hour, and that's probably the lowest. Then again, I've never been in other Nordics besides in Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania. So, but 34 is probably the lowest, and that's only because on Ionity app directly, it's probably 30 cents per kilowatt hour. So Lithuanian market is very competitive. It's not the best example of this app making you pay too much more. However, if you're based in Lithuania, you're not far from the Ionity charger that you use every day. This plug and charge solution might be actually pretty great for you. It's convenient, you pay reasonable price for it, and you're okay. However, if you're somewhere else where the Ionity is more expensive, it might not make sense, and it might make more sense to pay Ionity directly in the subscription and then paying that price. The negative being of Ionity costing about, let's check, Croatia price is 53 cents. I think with the direct Ionity subscription is 45 cents or something it was. So again, yeah, but yeah, if you live in a country where the price is low for Ionity charging, then this plug and charge feature, having this contract on the ChargeMyHyundai, might not be a significant increase in cost and might be worth for the convenience. But it's not true everywhere. It's only true for a couple of countries. So that's something to know. So this app is great for convenience, just like Volkswagen's app, and just like I haven't looked at other apps too much, but what I do know is they add convenience because you have single app to access not all of them, but many of the common charge networks. You will likely be able to get across the Europe just using those apps. So I can also choose the filters, and I disable plug and charge. I'll have more results. No authentication likely means free chargers. For example, cases where you have AC 11 kilowatt chargers, you can just plug in and find them. This might not be the best way to find them. They might, because those chargers they typically will be charge points because charger is external, whereas charge point will supply power to your internal charger. But besides the point, so the ones with no authentication, likely it's better to find through other apps like Maps or PlugShare, but it's a choice. Charging card is like when you register to this app, you have to sort of create a contract, pay for the contract, and order the card, which costs money. So you can activate with the card. Somebody might say, well, I never use cards. And you're probably right not to use cards because you can just use the app. However, there have been rare instances where the sort of the network has stopped working, and the charge card is actually the only thing that works rather than app. Now it depends where the failure occurs and whether the charging card will work on other networks. It's not guaranteed. So yeah, if you use charging card, great. If you don't, I don't think it matters. There's an app. It's interesting that ChargeMyHyundai offers filtering by CHAdeMO. As far as I know, ChargeMyHyundai is meant for Hyundais, and I'm not fully aware of a Hyundai that has CHAdeMO port. Doesn't come to my mind immediately. I believe Kia's back in the day had CHAdeMO, Kia Soul EVs, but that was, what was it, 10 years ago. And since then we've not been doing that. We switched to CCS, but correct me if I'm wrong. I think I'm pretty aware of these things, but I might miss something. Or you can filter by operators as well. You can see that there is all sorts of networks that are integrated, but it's not all networks. I encourage you to look at your local Google Maps information, your local plug share information, your local better route planner information if you want to find the cheapest, newest charge points available. In Croatia itself, we often it looks like, well, right now the filter is off, and it does not show the free charge points that are available. And the reason is simple, because, well, they're not likely not integrated with this ChargeMyHyundai or any other larger network, because it costs money to integrate ultimately, and the free ones are not gonna be there. So once you live in a place and you explore a place, then you spend your time researching around, even driving around. Some of the new places won't even be recorded in the maps because the local EV owners and plug-in hybrid owners are going to just keep those plus spots for themselves until they get discovered by somebody who overshares the information, like I do. So yeah, research your local area if you want to find even cheaper options. But that's besides the point of this app. In any case, this app is meant to help you with convenience. I'd say Plug&Charge is the best convenient feature that might be worth for you to pay for. The rest of the chargers will not be. The problem is when you register for this app for the first time, you have to create a contract. So here I named my contract Dark Spakalpoems, which means expensive service, and that's because I had to pay for it to even get on the contract and see the prices across the charge networks. So I'm hoping this sort of video helps you to understand that you're not gonna save money by having ChargeMyHyundai. If you want to save money, you just use the charge networks directly. In the contract itself, you can add additional modules. So the packages being the Ionity subscription, additional Ionity subscription, it's still not going to be cheaper than Ionity directly. It's going to be more expensive still. So Plug&Charge is another module, and more, well, I think those are essentially it. You can also upgrade your tariff from Flex to the one above. It's still not going to be cheaper than directly charging from the networks themselves. And of course the charging card gets ordered. If you want to know sort of the expenses for ordering the card and ordering the car and setting the contract, I think it was €6 plus 10, something like that. It wasn't anything crazy, but it was also annoying. So if the cost is something you care and you don't give a damn about Plug&Charge, just don't get this app. As simple as that. There's really nothing you're gonna lose here. The rest of the settings are not really that interesting, and you do get invoices of some sort. What it doesn't do for convenience, because this is contract and it gets invoiced in a way. It's not a transaction after the fact. It is that you do get, your account does get charged, charged, but it does not get held funds. Like if you travel across Europe or anywhere with charging it just by Ionity, you will notice that 50 euros get like sort of held back until the charge is complete. And Ionity is really fast at returning the difference, but basically the amount you don't charge in those 50 euro you get returned. However, if you're keeping your credit card account that is for charging with small limit, some of the networks will keep adding, like you fail, some of the chargers fail, some of the chargers don't work. You keep adding 50 euros or 40 euros, and then you run out and you need to extend the limit because they haven't returned the money in time. So the apps like these solve that problem essentially by charging you directly the correct amount. So that's also something to consider for the sake of convenience. I do know a bunch of Volkswagen and of course Skoda drivers that use their central app, because I haven't compared it, but from what I hear, it's actually also the prices are much better there. But don't quote me on that. I don't actually know the Skoda and Volkswagen app in detail, but I do know the drivers are using it for convenience to travel across Europe, and I understand them. Another instance where there might be problems is like sometimes some of these networks don't report problems. So here, not in Ludbina, there's another charger here near Plitvice Lakes. So I recommend going to Plitvice Lakes. They're beautiful, and there's charger. LN Network is one of the Croatia's earlier networks that work relatively well, but they do have a glitchy app. So in the app, they showed me that it's working and green and available. When I went there, it wasn't working. I tried all sorts of techniques based on my experience. And then later I was looking at the ChargeMyHyundai app and I see that it's red and it's not actually working. So sometimes these integrated apps that integrate with other networks tell you about a fault that even the network operators, main operators, apps won't tell you. So it's always a good idea to have multiple apps. I know it's annoying for a lot of you, a lot of EV owners, and I agree in a lot of ways. But it is the sort of EV ownership life we live in. If you want to completely avoid it, you can, and you pay extra just to use this single same app, and you can just, and ideally you live across a lot of plug and charge networks, and hopefully more networks have plug and charge, and then you can just drive up, plug in, pay whatever the amount they're asking, and just live your life. But if you want to save your money, don't use these apps. That's the simple as that. Use PlugShare to investigate. Use Google Maps. Use a better route planner. Look in the forums if you have to. Drive around sometimes. It is a rapidly developing market of charging infrastructure, and you might hate that part of it. Well, but what can you do? If either you want the best price, or you're willing to pay premium for convenience, which essentially these apps like ChargeMyHyundai provide. So for convenience, you can just use this, but you will be paying premium for it. That's it from about it, and I hope it gave you confidence in the plug and charge feature. At least I think that was the most coolest feature of it, and the only reason why I tried this app. I might even use it still in future. Not guaranteed though, I don't like overpaying. But yeah, now you know. That's it.